welcome to the Sports Radio Network and Sports Corner with the Conn Man. I am your host, the Conn Man. And with me this evening, I have my good friend, Mike Patton. How you doing, my brother?
What's going on? How you doing, man?
I'm doing really well. Folks, Mike Patton is he's widely known. He covers the AFC South. He's a football, very knowledgeable, and I've been following him for a little bit. But last time he was on my show, Mike said, "Hold up, I want for the NBA." I said, "Okay, we're gonna check you out." But before that, Mike, I do got to touch on a little bit of the NFL with you, if you don't mind. You know, it seems that the media is really going a little bit crazy about, I guess, Tennessee's former head coach Mike Vrabel and his. So you already know where I'm going with this, Mike. Before we get into the NBA, I want to know, because you cover AFC, so you covered Mike Vrabel, I'm sure, for a long time. What is your take on that whole situation?
It seems a little weird to me that they were in the same place at the same time with friends. It seems a little bit too coincidental to me. I'm not gonna, I'll go out there and condemn them and, say they did this, they did that, and the other, because I don't know, because I wasn't there. But it doesn't necessarily look very good, and I don't know about if they're friends. I don't know any friends I've interlocked hands with like that. So I don't know that part. But to me, it's just a lot of interesting things. I think I read somewhere that she's under review right now, I believe. But that'll be interesting just to see what comes of that. And definitely with the way it looked in the pictures, you always saw them. You never saw anyone else with them. So it does seem kind of fishy, the story that they were both there with friends. I don't know if I'm buying that story, but then again, hey, it's them, it's their lives, and it's what they wanted to do. And there's, I guess they're dealing with some, I guess, the consequences of what they were wanted to do.
Now, as you mentioned about the consequences, she's been putting out maybe inside information, maybe not, about A.J. Brown possibly going to the Patriots. So, I mean, it kind of looks a little bit shady. But, you as a reporter, what impact this situation will have on her career and her going forward?
I think it's going to impact her career in terms of, it's going to be hard for people to kind of look at her and be like, okay, what's going on here? They're going to kind of look and kind of, wonder, well, how did she get this information, or what was going on here? And especially if anything dealing with Mike Vrabel, it's going to be, kind of questioned a few different times, because it's just, unfortunately, in this business, you can't, well, I would say unfortunately, but in this business, you can't really cross those personal lines like that. I mean, there is, to be cordial, things like that, but, some lines you just can't cross, and it just, with the visuals, it kind of appears like that line has been crossed, which that's not ever a good thing when you're a journalist, especially in this instance.
Now, I'm going to give you one more question before we delve into the NBA. What is your feeling about the upcoming NFL draft? Because I want to put you in your lane before you come into my lane. So I want to know what your take is on the upcoming NFL draft. What are you looking for? And maybe, I think Tennessee has the 4th pick. Who do you think they're going to get?
Well, honestly, I'm looking forward to a little bit of surprises. I don't think everything's going to pan out the way everyone thinks it does. I think there's going to be a few surprises. A few people will drop, and a few people actually be a little bit higher than what people thought they would be. So that's what I think is actually going to happen. Like, you could potentially see maybe a Jermod McCoy get drafted higher than what people think he would. Or you can see maybe a Jeremiah Love drop, or maybe a Reuben Payne drop. That could potentially could happen. I mean, it's just a lot of guesses and things that could happen. As far as the Tennessee Titans, you definitely have heard a lot about Jeremiah Love. You've heard people talk about that. I mean, you've heard the whole Mina Kimes explanation of taking a B+ wide receiver over an A+ running back, which I disagree with. Love Mina Kimes, and she's excellent, but I disagree with her there. So when it comes to that, I think it's going to be either an edge rusher or Jeremiah Love. Those are the two options, in my opinion. I don't think David Bailey drops to them. I'm not quite sure it's Reuben Bain. I'm not sure. So it's going to be interesting just to see what they do. I think the one key thing that people have to also realize is that the general manager for the Tennessee Titans has said they will take the best player available on their board. So if things shake up and say maybe David Bailey doesn't go a certain place, or maybe they think a little bit higher of Sonny Styles than what some other people do, I mean, it could be anything at that number 4 pick. I can't really give you like a definite, okay, they're going to take this guy. Because it's you can make a case for Jeremiah Love, you can make a case for Sonny Styles, you can make a case for David Bailey, Reuben Bain. I mean, the list goes on and on for the people you can make cases for that number 4 pick. And now I know people are saying with the Titans, they're really not in a position to do this, that, and the other. But I'm like, okay, well, they kind of addressed a lot of things this offseason, so they kind of are.
Definitely. Now, Mike, what is your take, or what do you feel about the landscape of the NBA going into the playoff situation?
Well, it's still the same landscape that I have seen, and that's the West is strong and the East is still trying to catch up. The West, you've got the Thunder, you've got the Spurs, you've got the Nuggets. I mean, those 3 teams are teams I look at and like, okay, these 3 teams can make it happen. Now, I don't believe really as much in the Lakers. I don't really believe as much in the Rockets. The Suns, no. There's teams I don't believe in, but I think are nice stories. But the West is where the strength is. In the East, I mean, the comeback of Jason Tatum this year, the incredible play of JB out there, minus the dye in the hair on people's jerseys. But Boston Celtics, I mean, I don't believe really as much in the Knicks. Let's see, looking out there, the Pistons, yeah, I like the Pistons. Of course, they had that taste of playoff basketball last year, and it's going to be interesting just to see if they can maybe have one of those Oklahoma City Thunder type runs through the playoffs, potentially, and getting to that one challenger being the Boston Celtics for them.
Now, Mike, there's been a lot of talk about the 65-game rule in regards to postseason awards.
Well, I got real thoughts on that.
All right, but before we get there, do you know that you can win the scoring title with a minimum of 58 games? But now, I mean, with the recent ruling that the 65 game rule limit, what do you think about that? What's your take on that?
On the 65 game limit?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, to me, I find it quite funny. The reason why I find it funny is probably a little bit different than anybody else. Because I still remember a couple years ago when people were complaining about everybody sitting out with load management and things like that, and people were begging for the 65 game minimum and wanted it so bad, but now all of a sudden they hate it so much. I'm like, okay, which one is it? Which one do you want? Do you want this one or do you want that one? Do I think it can be modified? Yes, it can be modified for people that are actually hurt in terms of long-term injuries. However, if you look at the state of the MVP, who has ever won an MVP that's played less than 65 games? The only one I can think of is Bill Walton. Other than that, there has been no MVP that has played less than 65 games. So all the people complaining about that, hey, do your history lessons, because no player has won it playing less than 65 games. So you can be mad all you want to. 65 game rule kind of works in some instances and doesn't work in others, and it is what it is. And it's going to be what it's going to be. Now, the thing it's going to hurt is it's going to hurt the max contracts, the super max contracts for guys that are trying to get those, and it's going to hurt the All NBA selections for people. Now, some people are probably going to get All NBA selections that probably would have not gotten them, but other than that, it's really not going to hurt in terms of an MVP and who is the MVP.
Now, check this out. You got players, right, who may end up getting injured or might be injured, but still want to crack that 65, so they'll get those postseason awards and get that bag and get all those things, which can cause more injuries, serious injuries. Now, here's my take. You know, right now, all players in the NBA have to go through their own doctors and physicians. Why not have the NBA send their own doctors and their own physicians? That way you might be able to get a more clearer view. Whereas, you know, some of the team doctors may, you know, ask players because of, you know, having them require, because they need rest or these other type of injuries per se. And, you know, that might have an effect. What's your take on maybe having the NBA send their own doctors in situations like that?
Well, a couple things there. First thing I would say is, you know, you got to think of the money. They're going to have to spend more money to send all these 32 teams throughout an entire 82 game schedule. They're not going to necessarily want to do that. And then secondly, it almost feels like you're underlying or kind of undercutting the physicians that each of these teams hired. And owners are not going to want to undercut their physicians because those physicians don't necessarily need the NFL or the NBA. I'm sorry. They can go do whatever they want at any other place and still make that same type of money. And the third thing I would look at is a suit, because a suit could happen. Say if one of the NBA doctors say, "Hey, they're healthy enough to play," but the particular team didn't say that, and that player goes out and injures themselves, then you got a suit on their hands, and the NBA is trying to keep their hands as clean as possible.
That's a good comeback, my brother. That's very good. I hear you on that. Now let's go back to something that I want your opinion on. Now, this goes for all sports, not necessarily basketball, but I'll give you a take on this. I don't know if you're aware that you can play in the G League and get paid, not very much money, but you're still eligible to go back to college and receive NIL monies. Or you can be overseas and play professionally and come over to college. If you notice, a lot of college teams now, they're not even bothering looking at high school players. They're going after the European players. So what's your take on the infamous NIL? Not just for basketball, but throughout. You cover football. What's your take on players, whether it be college, basketball, football, probably not so much in baseball? You know, coach yells at him, "I'm out." Or, you know, a guy like AJ DeBonsa who made $7 million in college. And how does that affect coaching? And when you're coaching, how do you think they respond? How do you think that coaches are going to be able to carry on the team aspect? Because the culture seems to be not about, you know, what's on the front of the jersey, but what's on the back of the jersey, and how much of an effect that has on whatever team it might be, and whether it be football, basketball, etc. What's your take on that? Because you cover college football, so what is your take?
My take on it is, hey, I love that the players are able to go get paid and do those different things and make those decisions, because college coaches have been doing it for years. And also the thing I look at too is, you know, to me, the term student athlete was all a fallacy. The thing that I point back to is, you go back some years ago, like way back, the term student athlete wasn't created for, you know, to show that, hey, they've got to be a student and an athlete. It was created because there was a man that got injured playing in college football. It's like in the 50s or whatever. And I think he died or something happened. His family or whatever was trying to get money for it. And the NCAA president at the time said, hey, let's come up with the term student athlete so we don't have to pay his family. So that's why the term student athlete ever even came about. So it isn't because they want them to be students and athletes. It was because they didn't want to pay for those injuries or whatever happened to that athlete. So that's why, when someone tries to yell at me talking about student athlete, I'm like, okay, do your research on what student athlete and how it happened first before you tell me about it. So to me, I'm not mad at any of these players getting money. I mean, honestly, I played college football. I remember walking into offices and having to sign everyone says it's a 4-year scholarship. No, it's a year-to-year scholarship. You have to walk in the office and sign the paperwork, and you might catch a surprise where they might take away some money from you. So am I like really frustrated or mad or anything like that? No, because the objective is to win games. That's what coaches are there to do. And they're going to do whatever they got to do, whether it be take money away, bring people from overseas, bring people from the G League, whatever they got to do to keep their job and make money. So to me, the coaches are a little bit selfish in their own right. So why is it everyone mad when the players want to be a little bit selfish about taking care of themselves? So I think it's kind of, talking out of both sides of your neck when when coaches want to say certain things, but they act a certain way, but then they expect players to act a certain way as well. So to me, I don't really get caught up in it too much. I'm like, hey, you got to do what you got to do. Watching Tennessee State this year, Nolan Smith coached a bunch of players that he did not recruit. Of course, he's got players that are in the portal this year, and he's probably going to have to recruit a little bit more players to this team. That is just the nature of the beast. Now, did he make a connection with all of these players? Yes. Do they love playing for him? Yes. But, hey, they do have to take care of themselves as well, which coaches do relatively every single year.
Now, Mike, I don't know if you're familiar with, but I think there's over 5,000 athletes who have gone into the portal, whether it be in all the different various sports. Now,
I'm getting bad advice, by the way.
I know. I watch you all the time. I watch your videos. I watch everything you're doing, and you're doing a great job. Now, as you covering sports and doing a fantastic job, what is your take on the transfer portal?
Honestly, I don't mind the transfer portal. The one thing I would say about the transfer portal that's interesting is that, of course, as it's going on, they've made more, not rules and restrictions, but made more rules to go along with it. It's only going to get better in terms of tighter over the time, and knowing people are learning and understanding it over time. It's kind of like Pandora's box. You can't actually close it back up and get rid of it. It's going to forever be there. So the thing is, most coaches are going to have to adjust to it, learn how to adjust to it, and learn how to work the portal as well. Now, I will say it does hurt probably more high school seniors, especially if you're not a five-star or 4-star player. It does kind of hurt you there in terms of being an immediate producer at the college level. But then again, it also allows you to potentially grow and maybe go to a lower level where you can actually play and then maybe advance up at that point. But it definitely does hurt more high school seniors in terms of playing college sports and college, things like that. However, this is the beast that was created. And honestly, the NCAA could have stopped a lot of this, but then again, they were too afraid to make any rulings before anything happened. And I know people will say, oh, well, they're going to court and it's getting flipped over and all those different things. I'm like, okay, well, before that even happened, the NCAA just kept letting things happen. It's like Congress save us. I'm like, okay, you can't have Congress wanting to do certain things and then don't want them to do others. Because if they're going to get involved, they're going to get involved fully. So to me, it all goes back to the beginning of the NCAA and them trying to make money off of these players, but then and allowing coaches to do whatever and however they want. But then again, telling the student the players that basically, oh no, you can't do that, but they can do that because they're grown-ups and you can't do that. No, it just doesn't seem fair when you call them adult in some situations, and in other situations you call them kids.
That's very true. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Now, Mike, you've been covering sports for a long time. What would you like to happen that, as you covering sports, has not happened yet? Or what improvements do you think the NCAA, whether it be football, basketball, what improvements do you think they can make? maybe restructuring the NIL. What is your opinion on that?
Honestly, I don't have a problem with NIL. The thing I would say is a lot of things they maybe would need to maybe learn a little bit more about the NIL, because it seems like to me they're kind of backhandedly liking the NIL as opposed to actually learning more about it and understanding it. Because just look at the recent things and the president trying to talk about taking away NIL and all those different things. That's not how you actually get better with the NIL. You actually sit down and learn how it works before you try to make a ruling, not try to take it away so people can make money and the players can't. That's not how you fix it. So that would be one thing. Another thing, looking at the NCAA, quit adding teams to different tournaments or things like that. We don't need 12, 13, 16 teams in the football, to see who's the champion. We don't need that. Basically, all you're doing is trying to line your pockets even more while players are not seeing any of this money. It's basically what you're doing. And then also in the March Madness, they're trying to. There's rumors of expanding it to 76 teams. We don't need 76 teams. We need 64 teams. 68 was the most that should be done if they want to do the first four. I get it, but 76 teams, no. Teams like Auburn, they were in the NIT for a reason. Did you see how they played? They won the NIT, but that's where they should have been. Because if you looked at their season, they didn't really beat anybody. So that's why they're there. Not everybody can win. And everybody can't it's like this when you're doing something and you're doing something to try to be successful, not everybody can go with you. And this is that same instance with NCAA. Not everybody can go with you when you're doing something successful.
Now, I know what your answer is going to be, but I'm going to ask it anyway. As again, I keep talking about the NIL, and it's probably getting monotonous, but I look at it and, I think with the NIL, it's like those that do reap the benefits, those that don't. What I mean by that is the Mid-American teams, that can afford like a Michigan or a Texas or the other schools that have the backing, whether it be through boosters or whatever. They have more money to spend. And now the mid-level, it hurts them. Do you know what I mean? Also, the fact is, if you're mid-level and you have a talented player, of course he's going to go with the money. So I guess what I'm asking you is, and there might not be a right answer, but what do you think could possibly happen to maybe even the field?
Honestly, I don't think it ever will be even. It'd be nice, but it's never going to be really even. I mean, there's always going to be the haves and the have-nots. That is just generally what it's been in literally every single thing known in this world. The haves and the have-nots, and the same thing in college football, basketball, baseball, whatever sport you want to mention. It's generally the antithesis of that is kids staying somewhere because they actually like somewhere. That could happen too, because you always have players that play well. Like, give you an example, Miami, Ohio played well and they did great. They had a player on their team last year that was really, really good. Instead of staying at Miami, Ohio, he went to Georgia Tech. He's played really, really bad. He didn't only play bad, but he didn't play as well as people thought he would play. They thought he would continue to carry on like he did in Miami, Ohio. But going back to Miami, Ohio, they had an incredible season. He could have been a part of that, but he chose to go to the money. And, of course, that ended up being a bad decision for him, ultimately, for his NBA prospects. So, it's a give and a take, and you always got to, personally take a look and inventory at your own journey and what's best for you. Because what's best for you could be staying where you currently are, being the big fish in the small pond, as opposed to trying to be another fish in another pond. If you catch what I'm saying.
I definitely do. I like where you're coming from. Now I'm gonna switch gears a little bit because I ain't got you too much long, because I know you're a busy man. Getting back to the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
What have been the, I guess, the major surprises, something that surprised you, and what team did you project to be doing better than what they have been, and what were your disappointments in certain teams in the NBA?
Well, I'm gonna definitely talk about the Charlotte Hornets. I did not expect them to be as exciting and playing as well as they have. Now, there's a particular player on that team that I don't particularly care for, but other than that, I enjoy watching that team and watching them play well. And I mean, Lonzo Ball, I mean, I've never really seen somebody shoot a flat-footed three-pointer from as deep as he shoots it from. But I mean, honestly, they're just playing good basketball. I see former Chicago Bull Kobe White coming in off the bench to give them some pop off the bench. I mean, they are kind of. I've got to give props to Charles Lee, the coach there, who's a former Boston Celtics assistant. He's doing this thing there. He's got them playing some good basketball, better basketball than what I was playing to see from the Charlotte Hornets. Another team I would say that's playing good basketball that I did not expect. Well, when they were healthy, I would say the Los Angeles Lakers. I did not expect them to play as well as they were playing because I still think the dynamic there, is interesting. LeBron took the step back, which actually helped the team take the step forward.
Mm-hmm.
You actually had Luka, you had Austin Reeves playing well, but unfortunately, both of them are out for injuries for the rest of the season. And I don't know how healthy they are going into the playoffs, but when they were healthy, they definitely were surprising me. And definitely playing some good basketball, and everyone was in the right pecking order where they were supposed to be. As far as disappointments, the Orlando Magic are a serious disappointment. I did not expect them to be as bad as they were. I mean, of course, Wagner was out. He was out for a good portions of the season. So I can't really put a lot on them, but I still expected better than that from them. They just were really kind of disappointing. I'm always going to say Chicago Bulls are disappointing because that's my favorite team, and they just can't get it together. Glad they fired the GM and the executives up there because it just seems like they cannot put it together. I still don't understand paying Patrick Williams a big-time contract because he hasn't averaged double figures ever in his career. So, I don't understand that. That's not a dig at Patrick Williams. I'm just saying I don't understand, the contract. More power to him for his agent negotiating that contract. But I just don't understand the fit there and how, I just don't understand that. And then, of course, the love affair with Billy Donovan. I don't understand that one either. If they said that basically with the new general manager, they have to be able to get along with Billy Donovan and be happy with Billy Donovan as their new head coach, which I still don't get it. But, hey, it is what it is. It ain't for me to understand. It's for the Reinsdorf to pay the checks for. Now, the biggest disappointment to me, I have definitely got to say the Houston Rockets. I should have expected that without without their point guard this year. I should have expected them to have some issues. However, I just expected them to be able to finish games a little bit better than they have been. They just haven't been able to finish those games. I know Kevin Durant is there, but I mean he's creeping into the age of LeBron at this point in terms of his age. He's 37 years old. It's not like he's a spring chicken. So to me, they're depending on him with just a little bit too much in some aspects to close out the game. They do have a couple other young players. Asura Thompson is one of the other players there, who's I think is very, very special. I remember hearing ESPN's Vincent Goodwill. I'm sorry, Mr. Goodwill. Let me just call him Mr. Goodwill because he goes by Vinny and Vincent. So hey, I ain't trying to get in trouble. But as far as him talking about him being an incredible player with all the athleticism, you see the glimpses, but you just don't see it always consistently. And they just need that point guard, Fred VanVleet, to put it all in order. But of course, he's out this year with a torn ACL. Which if they had him, I think this team would be much better, especially with decisions down the stretch. I think Reed Shepherd is definitely an up and coming point guard, but he's just not ready yet. But that's the team that's been kind of disappointing to me. Definitely, when it comes to the West, I thought they would be like up there and better.
I totally agree with you. I think with Houston, the fact is they really don't have a leader. As you said, VanVleet suffered a season-ending injury, and KD is not a leader. He's never been a leader. And he never will be a leader. He just wants to go out there and ball. And I think Houston, especially as you said, in the game situations, to have a player with the experience and the leadership would probably have them get over the hump. But because they didn't go out and get a backup point guard or a point guard when they had the opportunity to get one, they chose not to. And of course, that's showing a big effect on their season thus far.
I can say one thing though.
Go ahead.
I will say that KD was a leader in one place alone. And if his foot wasn't as long as it is, or his shoe wasn't as big as it was, you would have seen it. We would all seen it. That was with the Brooklyn Nets. He was a leader in that part. He carried that team and almost put them where they wanted to be. If they'd have won that game, you would have probably seen the Brooklyn Nets potentially hoisting the trophy.
Yeah, that season he definitely wasn't, because they were in chaos with Kyrie and Harden. I mean, it was a mess, and he kept it afloat. I have to give you credit on that. I take it back a little bit, but I mean, he hadn't carried those leadership qualities to the teams that followed with him. And I think that maybe if he stood up, because he was like, "I'm ready to give up and let them handle the ball, and I'll just shoot." You know what I mean? With Houston, I thought that was a major problem. I think that if he were more of a leader, I think it might have propelled them to be a little bit better than what they are. But it looks like they're still going to end up with the 5th spot, which means they're probably going to play the Lakers, which happen to be my favorite team. So when you talk about the Lakers, you better watch out. But anyway, as I was saying, you know what I mean? The Lakers have gone through some hell. LeBron gets so much damn heat. The guy's playing, 22 years? And, his longevity is amazing. And he's still putting up the numbers that he's putting up. Luka went to Germany to get some treatment. Hopefully he comes back. Reeves has a abdominal strain or whatever he got.
He's got an oblique strain.
Yeah. Hopefully he has some fortitude to come back and play as well. I have high hopes of them getting at least past the first round. After that, who knows what's going to happen? You know what I mean? Because I think, and you know what might happen? If you were the Lakers, who would you want to play? If you get through the first round, would you want to play San Antonio or would you want to play OKC? Good luck with that.
Honestly, I'd rather play the Spurs, to be honest, because the Spurs have the least amount of experience in terms of some of their guys. Remember, folks, they have not made the playoffs, so they would have the least amount of experience outside of De'Aaron Fox and Harrison Barnes and backup center for them from the Celtics. I can't remember what his name is right now. His name escapes me, but they don't have a ton of experience in terms of playoff experience. I'd much rather, if I'm the Lakers, play them than play the OKC Thunder, because OKC don't play that. They don't play that at all.
Not at all.
And imagine they've got the number 1 seed, and SGA, Holmgren, and Jalen Williams have only played 26 games together all season, which is insane that they got the number 1 seed with that stat out there.
And the fact is, they're the defending champs, so they've been there, done that, which is going to be crucial to them succeeding. But let me ask you another question, because I know I ain't got you for too long, so I'm trying to get all I can.
You're okay. I got time, man. You
realize how hard it is to repeat as NBA champion. Are you going with OKC or are you going with the field?
I'm going with OKC. I mean, SGA, I know people will talk about him and talk about, he searches out the fouls and he does this or whatever. Hey, that guy's a mid-range maestro. You can tell him, you can say whatever you want about him, but that mid-range is sufficient. He's got enough to feed the needy, basically. So, yeah, he definitely is doing his thing. I will say that I do like the development of the depth they have at the guard position. You got Jared McCain. You got another guy that's a backup point guard. I mean, nobody ever saw him coming. You do have a lot of different interchangeable parts at the guard position, and they're all young and all on rookie deals, except for, most of them are on rookie deals. And then they have all these picks. They have 2 or 3 more picks next year in the first round. It's almost like you're watching. It's almost like you're sitting here watching, Billy Bean be the GM of the OKC Thunder, but just in a better, more souped up way with everything working out the way it's supposed to.
And you know what? They kind of remind me of the old San Antonio Spurs with Duncan. They kind of remind me of them. You know what I mean? With the picks and the draft picks. And I mean, like you said,
now Lou Dort will be the first piece probably to leave that team.
He might very well be.
He will be. Look at the pieces that they have behind him. They will be just fine.
And what's funny, like you said, they only have one max player. So I think they only have one max player. They might have two.
They have they have the Supermax and SGA, and now you have Holmgren and Jalen Williams have their max contract. But you also got to remember they're on rookie max contracts. They're not necessarily on the Supermax or anything of that nature because they haven't made it quite there yet.
Which leads me to the next thing we were talking about, picks and et cetera. What do you think about these teams who now the NBA has been trying to develop or come up with some plan to inhibit, stop, whatever you want to call it, tanking? So teams are going to do what they got to do. They've been fined. They're just going to do whatever they got to do in order to get that number one pick or number two pick, etc. What do you take, or what is your opinion about tanking?
Honestly, do I like tanking? No, I think it actually, hurts the fans that are actually paying their money to actually watch these players and come see teams play, willingly going out there and lose a game. I think that would bother me to my core, especially being an athlete and a competitor. However, I don't think you're going to fully stop it because teams are going to be creative and find creative ways to still make it happen. So that's just my thoughts on it. I mean, you can only do but so much. I mean, I've heard so many people talk about, they're going to get rid of the best way to do this is just get rid of the draft. Nah, that ain't going to work either. There's always going to be a way or somebody to find a way to actually, get around the system and do the things that they want to do. There's just no way to escape that.
Okay, Mike. Here's another question. You played collegiate football. You played sports. You probably dealt with a little bit of adversity. Lately I've been having. Okay, good. Because lately I've had Dr. Heather Locken. I've had people come on, and because right now a big part of sports, whether it be high school, collegiate, pros, the mental health aspect of it. I want to get your take because that is a big. Colleges are hiring people just for that, and so are high schools. They're going to different. Well, right now it's only a few probably, but I think eventually almost every high school is going to have someone to deal with the mental aspects of it. And I know you know about the famous ride home. So what's your take on the mental health aspect of being an athlete?
Well, honestly, people talk so much about the physical health and you being physically right to play, but everyone just avoids the mental parts of it. You also got to remember these kids, in terms of high school, they're still developing mentally. They're not always fully developed. So there needs to be some guardrails, some guidance, someone there to actually talk to them because, there's so many players that are lifted up on pedestals and out there, playing and everyone thinks that, hey, nothing really can bring them down. Yeah. Things can bring them down because they're human and they need to know how to deal with those things. And somehow, some way, people think that, great players know how to deal with all these great things because they're great players. No, they don't because they're human. So, having somebody that's there for the mental aspect to, kind of guide them through some of those situations is a good thing. And I think it needs to be more that needs to happen. The NFL just talked about putting out mental health people to different teams, and that's a start of something that probably could grow. I think they're kind of, to me, I think they're a little late to the party. However, it's something, and it's better than nothing being, happening there. And I think that you have to always not necessarily talk about the physical by itself, but you have to talk about the physical and the mental. You can't be physically healthy and mentally corrupt or mentally not there. So, that is a big part of the game. If you're not mentally healthy, then you physically can't give your all and be the best you can be. And I think more organizations, more leagues are starting to understand and realize that. And it also shows a sign of teams actually caring more about their players, whether they're, doing it performatory or not. It still shows that teams are having more care for their players and more care for their mental state and being, because God knows they don't want to come into their jobs and find out that this player did this player did that, and then think to themselves, oh well, we could have did this or we could have did that. So definitely taking care of your mentals as well as your physical is a key thing, and definitely I'm glad it's being more recognized, because, of course, when I played, that was literally back in like 2000. None of that stuff was really recognized. None of that stuff was, even back further than that, it was declared all these other different adjectives that I really don't want to give any life to. But it's very good that, we're moving forward in terms of sports and the society to be able to understand that mental health is just as important as physical health.
I agree with you. Again, Mike, is there anything that maybe I didn't bring up that you might want to relay to our viewers? Anything you want to talk about that maybe I didn't bring up?
One thing I want to also talk about is, quit trying to tell people how to do their jobs when you don't understand them. Here's where I'm going with that.
Okay.
I have a lot of friends that cover the W and the WNBA, things like that. And recently, a lot of people on social media have come at them and say, why aren't you breaking stories? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? Well, first thing is, you don't understand what they do. They're journalists, and there's different levels to being a journalist. I don't know everything about WNBA. I don't understand, breaking stories and all those different things in the WNBA. I don't understand all those things. So I step back and I allow them to do their jobs and understand that. And I am a journalist myself. So I know people that are writing and talking about this and putting it on social media and not having a picture up so nobody can see who they are. Yeah, I'm talking about those people. But I know they don't know what they're talking about. So please let people do their jobs and quit trying to tell them how to do their jobs, because you never could do their jobs, even on your best day, because you don't understand what you're talking about. So leave people alone, allow them to do their jobs the way they do their jobs, instead of trying to critique them on how to do their jobs when you probably couldn't do that job on your best day.
Now, Mike, if those people who are watching this and they want to become journalists, or they want to be the next Mike Patton, what would you recommend to them?
Do your homework. One, be serious about it. Actually take pride in your work and the things that you do, and actually believe in the things that you work and you do. Don't just jump out there and do something to get, the attention, the glitz and the glamour. Everything is about the glitz and the glamour. It's about actually putting in the work, putting in something that you believe in, doing something that you're proud of, not necessarily something that you got to be like, oh, I feel like I got to top this next time I do this or do that and other, which you can do that in your work and be proud of it. But I'm saying, trying to get something to get the spotlight on you, that's not necessarily what a journalist does. A journalist tells a story. A journalist brings something to your attention. A journalist makes you think. That's what a journalist does. It's not only about breaking news and things like that. It's always about making you think, giving you knowledge, and helping you educate you on the subject that maybe you may not have much knowledge on. So study people, talk to people in the business, learn where you want to go and what you want to do, so that way you can start making that path where you're trying to go.
That's great advice. Mike, can you let the viewers know how they can get in touch with you, how they can check you out? Because you're doing so many great things. How can they check you out? How can they view your videos and all the posts you make and everything that you're doing, your shows? Let the people know so they can check you out. Because after this, I'm sure they're going to want to check you out.
They're probably gonna come cuss at me. I'm joking, man. I'm joking. But you can find me on, of course, the artist formerly known as Twitter. I will never really call it X. No. You can find me on the artist formerly known as Twitter at Mike Patton 82. That's MikePaton 82. You can also find me at Blue Sky, same thing. Instagram and Threads, you can find me at that's THA, not THE, _general_MP. Of course, touring the AFC South and all my other podcasts you can find on the Mike Patton Network, which is on YouTube. And you just search up Touring the AFC South, it'll lead you right there. Also, you can find Touring the AFC South and all my other podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, you name it, we're there. And definitely don't be afraid to reach out. I mean, I'm not going to bite. I definitely will. I definitely will give information or try to help where I can as well.
Well, Mike, thank you for coming on my show a second time. I mean, you are definitely legit. You got everything in order, my man, and I do appreciate you coming on my show. I mean, it's been an honor and a privilege, my man, and I just want to thank you for coming on my show, giving some substance and some knowledge to our viewers. And I think it's a great thing that you're doing. Keep up the good work. Anytime you want to hit me up about what you're doing, you have an open invitation, my man. So again, thank you so very much for coming on my show, my brother.
All right. Thank you for having me.
All right, folks. Thank you, Mike. Folks, that's been my man, Mike Patton, on Sports Wave Network and Sports Corner with the Conn Man. He's doing some great things, and we look forward to seeing what else he's going to come up with. But again, in about another half hour, we got our NBA show coming on as well. So we'll be talking, and what a great show that is. Y'all got to tune in for that. What a crazy crew we got, but very knowledgeable. And we're going to be talking about the playoff implications and the Hall of Fame 2026 coming up, and a whole lot of the Lakers, of course, and a whole lot of things. So tune in tonight at 9 p.m. and watch our show called The Courtside View. So stay tuned. Thank you for tuning into Sports Wave Network and Sports Corner with the Conn Man. May you all have a great night. Take care and God bless.